They found the tape recorder last, based on a real documented wilderness tragedy. In October of 1994, a 24-year-old man named Christopher McCandless walked into the Alaskan wilderness alone. At the time, no one knew his name. To the people who briefly encountered him on the trail, he introduced himself as Alex. He carried very little: a rifle, a small bag of rice, a map that turned out to be incomplete, and a belief that the wilderness would provide everything else. Christopher wasn't running from danger. He was running towards something. He had abandoned his car months earlier, burned his remaining cash, cut contact with his family. He believed that stripping life down to its most basic elements would bring clarity, freedom, truth. When he was dropped off near the Stampede Trail in Alaska, the man who gave him a ride noticed something immediately. Christopher didn't look prepared. The driver warned him that the area was unforgiving. Weather changed quickly. Rivers could become impassable overnight. Christopher smiled and thanked him. Then he walked into the brush. The Stampede Trail wasn't really a trail. It was an old mining road that faded into swamp, forest, and river crossings that didn't look dangerous until you were already in them. Christopher followed it for days. Eventually, he found an abandoned city bus sitting alone in the wilderness. It was rusted, stripped, empty, but it had 4 walls, a roof, and shelter. Christopher decided to stay. At first, things went well. He hunted small game, cooked meals over a fire, read books he'd brought with him, wrote in a journal, took photographs of himself smiling. The isolation felt peaceful, but the wilderness doesn't respond to optimism. As weeks passed, food became harder to find. The animals moved, the seasons shifted, the landscape changed in ways Christopher didn't anticipate. He began rationing his rice. Then he ran out. He tried foraging. Some days he succeeded. Other days he didn't. His journal entries changed tone. They became shorter, more factual, less philosophical. He began marking days by survival instead of reflection. One of the most critical mistakes Christopher made involved a plant. He believed it was edible. Later analysis suggested it was either misidentified or prepared incorrectly. It didn't kill him immediately. It weakened him. Slowly. Silently. By midsummer, Christopher decided it was time to leave. He packed his things and headed back towards civilization. That's when he reached the Teklanika River. When he first crossed it months earlier, the water had been shallow. Now it was swollen with snowmelt, fast, icy, deadly. Christopher stood at the bank and realized something terrifying. The river that had once been passable was now impossible. He was trapped. There were safe crossings upstream. There were emergency shelters nearby. There were even cables installed for crossing at certain points. But Christopher didn't know that. His map didn't show them. He turned back toward the bus. That decision sealed his fate. Over the next weeks, his condition worsened. He grew weaker. Hunting became impossible. The journal entries became fragmented. Some days had no writing at all. Others contained lists, calories, plants, attempts. Eventually, the entries stopped entirely. Months later, hunters stumbled across the bus. Inside, they found Christopher's body. He weighed barely over 60 pounds. Nearby were photographs he had taken of himself. In the final one, he is smiling faintly, holding a sign that reads, "I have had a happy life and thank the Lord. Goodbye and may God bless all." What most people don't know is what was found after. Tucked into his belongings was a small tape recorder. On it was a message, not for the world, for his family. His voice was weak, measured. He spoke about mistakes, about misunderstanding the wilderness, about realizing too late that independence doesn't mean isolation. He ended the recording by saying he hoped his story would keep others from making the same choices. Search and rescue experts later concluded that Christopher had been within walking distance of safety, that if he had waited just weeks longer or crossed at a different point or known what his map didn't show, he might have survived. Instead, the wilderness accepted him quietly, without anger, without mercy, and without caring what he believed.